Now, every month we do a free introduction to the works of W.D.Gann, a webinar which you can register for at www.gann.co.uk. As I said, they're free of charge, and just basically a basic introduction. But I get asked a lot after the webinar, why don't you talk about Gann cycles? And there's a good reason for it, and the reason is I don't think it works. Now, I'm not just saying that because I've come to a conclusion that they don't work based on nothing. It's because I tried to get them to work for years and years and years when I was looking into it really in the 1980s. I mean, you can always find a cycle that works after the event, and it wasn't so much that they don't always work, it's just that you need to understand why it's not a way of making money. Now, one of the videos that I've got on YouTube is called Secret to Making Money, and in there it goes and explains to you that you've got to take small losses when you're wrong, but you've got to try and make big profits when you're right. And that is fundamentally the problem with cycles. Now, I've not picked on this website for any bad reasons. I just basically looked up something that I knew. That I used to do in the 1980s, and one of the things that Gann did was he took 360 degrees and divided it into its geometric parts. So a quarter would be 90, an eighth would be 45, and Gann talks a lot about 45. And so one of his major cycles was 45 weeks or 45 months, etc. But the one I'm going to look at is because I picked this item here, the Swiss franc against the pound, because I wanted something that had a massive spike in a day, and this is a good example of it. And you can see the massive spike up here on this monthly chart. So let's go back to this. So all I did was I went and searched for Gann and 49, because you'll see in a minute it's 49 months to the high, even though it wasn't 45. And the bit that it came up with was here. And so I'll let you read it yourself. You can see the web address here if you want to put it in yourself. In fact, make it a bit bigger. And it says here, weekly and monthly time cycles are the most important cycles, which is basically what Gann actually went and said. And if you look a bit further down here, it says the square of 7. 49 is very important for changes in trend, and so 49 months would be incredibly important to look for major turning points in the market. And it's because 7 times 7 is 49. That was Gann's reason for it. Okay, and there's lots of things in here that I used to do. I did exactly the same thing, so it's absolutely no criticism whatsoever of the person who wrote this. He's basically saying what Gann said. I just no longer think it works. But I've tried to find an example that shows that one particular rule working quite well, and then we're going to look at what the problems are with that rule. Now, what I've done here is I've taken the low that was made here on this monthly chart, and I'm going to add to that low 49 months, and that would be a point where you'd be looking for a change in trend. And you can see that 49 months from this low here is the top that the market made up here. And if you did that, you'd go, well, that's pretty impressive, and you'd probably then start using that rule into the future. And in fact, if you went to this high here, and then you added 49 months, then you can see that it gives you the low that it made here. And if you went to this one here and added 49 months, it gives you the low that was made here. And it looks pretty good. And if you go to this high here, and you add 49 months, I think we can say that one didn't work. And if you go to the high and add 49 months for the future, you can kind of say it gave us the low that was made down here. So it's actually one of the first things I looked at, and the reason, as I said before, is just because I was looking for a big movement in a day to explain what the problems are with cycles. And it looks pretty good, but the problem is that people are very, very good at kidding themselves about what works and what doesn't work. And it's really down to how incredibly good the brain is at seeing things that work, and how incredibly bad it is at seeing when things don't work. Now, I'm not going to go into too much depth there, but people, especially in technical analysis, etc., just kid themselves that things are working. Now, I think that if you don't, especially if you're new to all this, that looks pretty good. You know, from that high to the next low is 49 months. From this low to the next low, I think it's that one. From that low to there is 49 months. From that high to that low is 49 months. From this low here to that high is 49 months. It looks like it works really well, but you're kidding yourself. And so why are you actually kidding yourself? Now there's lots of reasons for it, and the first one is we're looking at a monthly chart, and so it looks like it's 49 months from that high, but it's actually not. 49 months is actually there, and in fact it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, it's about 5 months later that the actual low is actually made. Well, 5 months is getting on for half a year. And if you're using stop losses, which you should be when you're making trades, you would have got stop lossed out a long time before the market actually turned. Now, it's not such a big problem if you're the Sultan of Brunei, or you're fabulously wealthy and money's going to come in no matter what, and you can just buy something and hold, and it doesn't really matter to your lifestyle. But that is not the case for probably 99% of the population. So it looks like it's working, but it's not really. And the same thing applies to this here. If we take this low here and add 49 months, which gives us this, we're actually out from the actual low by about 2 months. 2 months is a lot. And in fact, if we look at this a little bit closer, if you actually look at it now and where we've actually zoomed in, you can see that it wasn't actually 49 months that the low was made. It actually went up for another 2 months. Now, when it goes up, it's easy for you to see that it carried on going up, but at the time it wouldn't look like that. You would see it rising to 49 months, which probably means it's going to fall, a bit like this. You can see that we're rising to 49 months, and so therefore it's going to fall of 49 months. Yeah? But you can see with hindsight that it looks like it's going up. And the same thing applies here. From this high here, we can see that it falls down to 49 months. But again, that low there isn't the low. It's the next month that's actually the low. And that's the difference between making money and not making money. So it's giving you a rough idea of where you might get changes in trend, but unfortunately it's far, far too rough. So let's look at the best example of this working, which is probably from this low here to this high up here. And first I'm going to do what most software packages will do, and they will go, if you go to a monthly chart and you go to this low here and do 49 months, basically what you're actually doing is you're drawing that cycle from the first day of the month, because you've done it on a monthly chart. You don't know what day in the month the actual low was made. So let's look at this low back here on a daily chart. Now, this is a daily chart of the same thing, and what I've done is I've turned off the auto align option in the software, and this is basically what your software is doing it without you really realizing it. If you've done 49 months, you will have done it from the very first day of July, and the very first day of July is actually where that low is made there. Now, the actual low wasn't made on the 2nd or the first day of July. It was actually made on the 25th of July. That's near the end of the month. In other words, you're actually out by a lot. Okay. Now, if we bring that chart up to date, okay, because we've drawn it from the wrong place, we're going to have a cycle on the daily chart. We rescale it. Our cycle of 49 months into the future will come out here. Okay, so these are the daily prices. That's 49 months from the first day of the month. Now, the first thing you can see is that it's pretty close, but it's actually quite a long way out. So it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days out from the actual high. But actually look at how much you could possibly have lost by trading on that particular day. If you traded the market here, yeah, and say you short it because it's risen to the cycle, so you'd expect it to fall, then you would have lost a huge amount of money. Also, on that particular day, the high for the day is actually there, and the low for the day is actually there. Now the cycle doesn't tell you in the day which part of the day to actually physically trade it. So it could be here at the bottom, it could have been at the top, which of course without the benefit of hindsight you wouldn't have known. And again, you might have made the trade in the day, you might have made it there, or you might have made it there, and that movement on that day could have stop lossed you out. Again, we're looking to short the market here. It would have stop lossed you out and you would have lost money. So a cycle doesn't tell you even in the day where to actually physically make the trade, which also makes it incredibly dangerous. But let's go back to the low where we did this 45 month cycle. So now I've gone back to the daily charts, and that's where we've drawn it from the first. If we would have done a monthly chart, it would have drawn it from the first day of the month. But as we said before, the actual low was made on the 25th of the month. So what we could do is we could go, well, we'll just adjust it by going to this particular low here. Now that means that the cycle of 49 months has now gone forward in time. So if we bring the chart up to date, okay, now before we said that the cycle was where the circle was there, and I showed you that you didn't know which part of the day to actually make the trade. Now we've moved it to the exact low, we're actually in time, we're actually here, so we've gone forward by quite a bit. And now we're actually, are we rising to the cycle, or are we falling to the cycle? It's very difficult without the benefit of hindsight to actually see, and as you can see, it wouldn't have made much difference which you would have done. If you would have bought it or shorted it, you would have ended up losing money. And that's the major problem with cycles. Yeah, you've got to get the exact day right, but unfortunately it's not good enough to even get the exact day right. You've got to get the exact price right. And again, if you made the trade on the day, just say your cycle just happened to be made on the exact day and you got that completely and utterly right, and we'll just look at it a little bit closer. If you would have done it on the exact day there, just look at how big the movement is on that particular day. So the low of that day was made here, the high of that day was made here, yeah, and you could have traded it anywhere in the day, and it might have opened here for instance, and you might have shorted it. That movement would have caught you out. Getting the right time is completely and utterly pointless. You've got to get the right price. The price is the most important thing, even though Gann went and said time's the most important point. If you know that the market's going to top out there, it doesn't matter if it gets there on the 1st of the month or the 2nd of the month or the 25th of the month, it's got there when it gets there. So price, as far as I'm concerned, is more important than the time. Because when you put your stop loss in, it won't get caught. But Gann had a far better rule for finding the correct time to do something, and that's angles. An angle travels in time and price. Yeah, so I'm not saying it's an angle, but an angle travels in time and price. And so when it touches a particular point on the angle, it gives you the correct price and it gives you the correct time. And so basically that's why I don't use cycles, because if you just get it slightly wrong, you'll lose a fortune. Even if you get it completely and utterly right the correct day, as I've just shown you, you can still lose an absolute fortune. Okay, but angles and percentages, which is what I've done most of my YouTube videos about, are the way to make money. It gives you the price, percentages give you the right price to make the trade at, and an angle tells you when to make the trade. And a combination of the two is what you're really looking for. So like I said, Gann did a lot about cycles, etc. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a nice intellectual exercise, but from a money-making point of view, I don't think it's that great. Anyway, I don't try to disprove anybody, but that's just a personal opinion.